Whoops. Not ready. Not ready. I lied.
It's all part of the fun live show.
Ready right now. Can
everybody hear me?
They should be able to, yes.
Hey, in the chat room, can you hear me? I know you can't see me, but can you hear me? Can hear me? Just keep going on while Steven fixes the video. Nobody's saying anything. So maybe they can't hear me. I mean, it's one thing to not have video on a podcast, but it's another thing to not have audio. Oh, hey, there I am. Hi, can everybody hear me? Can everybody see me? Should be seeing me. Everybody hear me? Steven showing me what he's putting out.
I could tell one of my lights wasn't on right. All right, let's do it again.
Okay.
I'm Chris Farrell from the All Things Good and Nerdy podcast, a wacky weekend morning show, part of the Good and Geek Network, just like the show you're checking out right now. Shows on the network are individually owned, and the opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other awesome geeky shows over at GonnaGeekNetwork.com.
Welcome to an all-new Better Podcasting live chat. I am Stephen John Drew, and of course, there is the live chat master, SP.
I don't know how one gets qualified as the live chat master, but I can run with it. I'll take it. I'll go with it. It is Tuesday night. We are recording a Better Podcasting live, episode number 18 of our lives, and I have yet to do the pluses or minuses. We're coming up on a total of 250 Better Podcasts. And it's awesome. I love it. And I love all our live audience that comes by and chats with us as we record either show.
You know what else I like? When we're able to go on vacation and do things, and then the others able to go and find a co-host to fill in the meantime, because we're all understanding, you and me, of each other needing to get away from each other. So special shout out to Chris Farrell from last week for filling SP seat. It was great having you on there, but SP, I did miss you, of course.
I know you missed me because you referenced me several times. I did actually get a chance to listen to the episode. Chris did a great job. I want to thank Chris personally for taking my seat while I was gone. It was awesome that he was able to do that. And our audience, I guess, got an earful as to what Chris can do with stuff. So that was cool too.
And as we record this, because as SP says, we do stream it live at Geeks.live, we got Jason M. Bryant in the chat, and he's saying, and big props to Chris for helping me work on the Twitch embed. So awesome. Chris Farrell, that's why we call you our Twitch master.
He's not here to take that accolade or rebuff it.
I thought maybe he would just show up if I acted like he was here.
That would be awesome if he would. He's always welcome.
And he said, still not as good as better podcasting, though. Sorry, Canadians. Chris Farrell's not Canadian. He'd be offended by that statement.
No, he's saying that last week's Better Podcasting live chat wasn't as good as better podcasting.
But why is he saying sorry, Canadians?
I don't know. I am not Canadian.
That's what I don't know. I'm wondering where this extra Canadian came from. I'm not sure. Anyways, Jason, thank you for joining us in the chat for us to question you. All right, let's talk about the thing that SP had to message me about. He's upset. He's angry. If you say SP in an angry voice, he will come in the current state that he is in because he's that angry already.
I was angry, but then I power washed half my fence today, so it kind of took a lot of the anger out of me. But I will say that on Sunday, I was on the treadmill and I was watching CBS Sunday Morning. There popped a Ted Koppel story, and it was just for everybody's trigger alarms out there. It was generally about the election, but let's skip through that. And he started talking about the fact that most Americans don't actually get their news from the news media anymore. They get it from social media. And for those in audio land, quote unquote, social media. So about halfway through the report, they go on a bender of several minutes talking about social media and how social media has this influence over the general public. And Ted Koppel couldn't wrap his mind around the fact that people were getting it through social media. So first of all, they were really misquoting what social media was in this instance, because every example that they brought up was a podcast or a show on YouTube that also had a podcast. So that's what they were talking about. They were talking about podcasters, influencers, and they just called it social media. So Ted Koppel's behind the times there already. And second of all, he's behind the times because he just couldn't fathom. I mean, literally, he was astounded. He just couldn't fathom the fact that most people were now relying on podcasts versus the general media. And I was like, yay for podcasts, first of all, for making this happen, because without the podcast version of social media, and again, for those in audio land, I'm doing the little quotes, quote unquote, social media, without podcasts out there, this wouldn't have happened. So you guys, you go. I mean, we're part of it too here on Better Podcasting, but it's in general, it's podcasts are a thing that more and more people are getting their information from podcasts versus everywhere else. And Ted Koppel stumbled over it. He didn't actually say it. He didn't acknowledge it, but it was inherent in every single example that they were giving.
Remind me, Ted Koppel. Well, I know, but pretend you're reminding me. Remind me, Ted Koppel. Who is he?
He used to be, he's retired, but he used to be, well, I guess he's called senior consultant or something like that, but he used to be the nightly news host on the CBS nightly news, whatever they call that. So that's who he used to be.
And remind me, what is CBS News?
It is a major network, TV network here in the United States.
And a TV network. Remind me, how do you access a TV network?
Usually, I mean, it depends on who you are anymore, but you can access it through open air in a lot of cases if you live close to a broadcast tower.
And remind me, what is open air?
Yes. Okay. So I get where you're going at.
You know why I'm doing this though, right? Because these are legitimate things that me, as a father of children who are fairly young, I'm being a smart, you know what, because honestly, these are things I'm going to have to explain to them and have had to on several occasions explained. I'm not exaggerating. I have had to explain what live television is. And one of my kids, I think, still don't understand the concept, because this is the world that we live in, is that lots of kids are used to on-demand services. They're used to this new thing. And I am not surprised at all that this 80-year-old guy that was a former whatever broadcaster, anyways, retired broadcaster, can't wrap his head around this, because it's such a disconnect from where we are with the current young generation to his generation. And it doesn't surprise me at all. And these are the sort of disconnects that make the, television and radio industries basically fail. Like, they have to either adapt now, or they fail, because there are more and more people who are getting older that don't care about a television station or a traditional news broadcast. They don't get it, and they don't care to get it, because they know that they can get it through an alternative means that they can 1.5 times through, or they can listen to when they want, where it's convenient for them. So things are evolving, and it's not surprising to me at all. But I like the fact that it irritated him.
Yeah, it definitely irritated him. It irritated me because they were mislabeling podcasts. But Jason Alrun in the chat, by the way, he made a correction. Ted Koppel was the ABC nightly news anchor, not the CBS, although he does CBS senior consulting, I guess, for the CBS Sunday morning show. So that's where he was there. But he was the ABC anchor for years and years and years, a couple of decades, I think. Anyway, I'm glad it irritated him to the point where he just didn't get it. And here's my thoughts. And I posted this in Discord, but for those that aren't in our Discord, which you can find at betterpodcasting.com/Discord is that eventually this old guard that just does not think in those terms is going to go away. They're not going to be around anymore. How long is that going to take? I don't know, 5 years, 10 years, maybe 15 years. I think the change will be more complete in 5 years than it is today, but it is already changed since the last election. And again, I just don't want to get into the politics of it, but it's a major news cycle. And a lot of people look at how people are consuming things every 4 years in America because of it. And I think the next 4 years are going to be even more and more telling as we go forward. But yeah, it's a major milestone for me to see just one of the greats, to me anyway, of news nightly hosting. He just doesn't get it yet. He will soon if he doesn't.
So, you know me. I always like to let you be corrected and just let you think that you're wrong. But every now and then I come to your defense because I think you are a genuinely
Okay.
nice guy. And I just looked it up that he is currently a contributor to CBS News Sunday Morning. So I get why you made that confusion. So
Yeah, well, I knew he was one of the big hosts. I mean, I knew it wasn't NBC, but I couldn't remember if it was ABC or CBS. And Dan Rather, I guess, was the CBS guy. And I don't think that CBS wants Dan Rather around anymore because he got into a little bit of I truthfulness issues, something like that in the past,
fair enough.
which was kind of funny because that's kind of what Ted Koppel was accusing all the social media of not being truthful, and he was flabbergasted that nobody would correct them. And yeah, I'm just not going to go any further than
No,
that.
but I'm not going to turn this in the direction that it's going, but I want to acknowledge all the people that are thinking what you're thinking about media. We know what you're thinking, and let's just leave it at that. And
Okay,
you know what we know what you're thinking. Okay, so we'll
fair
at least
enough.
acknowledge that. So that
Okay.
again, close the hate mail or send us hate mail for something else. Uh, All right, I want to talk about something that came up in regard to our last Better Podcasting episode. This was our last full Better Podcasting, which you can find at betterpodcasting.com. It was episode number 235, where we talked all about buying a domain for your podcast. Well,
Hmm.
we had a lot of people who had some comments about there, and one of the things that we mentioned when you're buying a domain is that sometimes, pretty much all the time, when you buy a domain, the first year that you're paying for is cheaper than the renewal price. This is pretty standard practice. You know, they give you the first taste for almost free, is what it comes down to. And that's not okay. That's not always true because there are premium domains where you actually pay more for the first year than the second year. But anyways, most of the time you pay a little bit for the first year and more for the next year. And sometimes it's not a huge difference. Like sometimes you're like, hey, I got my .com for 99 cents and next year I paid $10.99. Or sometimes it's elsewise, which is what we had Jim Video say. And he was saying that on DreamHost, which I guess was the website provider that he registers his domains through, the .tech domain is on sale for $2.99 for the first year. After that, it is $49.95. So you get three, or if you get three the first year for $8.97, the next year will be $149.85.
Okay, I get that, but my question is, I hope that's in US dollars and not Canadian dollars, because if that's Canadian dollars, it's like, I don't know, 25 cents American. That's a steal right there.
Yeah, things can be very expensive for renewal, especially these new domains. And that's the thing, is these new extensions, and I didn't want to get too far into it on the main Better Podcasting episode, but I thought I would here. My understanding of how it works is because it was opened up basically to anybody to create one. There you go and you pay a large sum of money to get your dot whatever. So that's why you've got businesses that have a dot their business name, but they have to pay a huge amount of money. So what happens is, I think these companies that are funding these new domain extensions are coming in, and obviously they're putting down a wad of cash and they want to make sure to get that back. But then they also need to make sure that they can afford whatever is going to be in their future, because this is all uncertain times, because it's only been a few years we've had these weird extensions, that I think that some of them, if there's not been a lot of uptake the first year, they need to be able to afford it, so they have a higher price on the renewals. And this is not uncommon by any means, to have such a large gap, like Jim said, on these new extensions. It sucks. And the other side of things that I didn't talk about was it is a risk, I think, that you're taking when you're registering a new domain extension, that all of a sudden they are going to bring up bring up their price a huge amount the next year. I don't know if I want to say it or not. I'm not going to say it. Okay. I'm not going to say it, but there was a very, very premium podcast network related domain that I had an opportunity to buy because I watched it go through expiration, and it was available, but it was a situation where I looked at it. It was a new domain extension, and the renewal price was quite expensive as it was. And I was going to have to pay quite a bit to get it up front. But then it was even like, I was worried this is going to be even more expensive the year after. So why would I even put the cash up front? So I didn't get it, and someone else got it because I'm sure there's lots of us waiting for it. But there was a time that like I was like right there. I could have had it. So I don't want to say what it was, but just know that that was a decision like that I made because I didn't know what the unknown would be of the future. And for something that was just kind of a cool factor, it wasn't worth it to me.
I ran into an interesting use of a domain extension this past week, a podcast that I know of. I don't listen to it, but a podcast that I know of. They have a .com for their podcast, but they also have a offline community or online community, I guess, but it's kind of a gated community. So they went with a .club. So they have their podcast name, like yourhobbypodcast.com, but then they also had yourhobbypodcast.club, so that they could control access into that area. I'm guessing it's because they needed to verify age. But anyway, it was a very neat use of another extension with their same name, but their podcast name, the main one, is still a .com. And we talked about that last week, but I thought that .club was kind of neat for a community to have. And if you are, maybe you have a network, or maybe you just have an online community somewhere that is not where your podcast page is, it might be an interesting thing to do a .club.
I think .club's been one that's been around for a long time, if I remember correctly. Oh no, it must have been early on. It was 2014, but I remember when it came up and I laughed at it.
Well, it probably was one of the first ones that came out, right? And you're thinking, why would I do that? I would just get the .com, the .org, the .net, or the .ca for you.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay, I actually want to drop something on you that nothing that we just talked about made me...
I hope it's not bird poop.
No.
So I'm kind of done with that for today.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, you can share that story in our Discord server. I don't want to subject our listeners to that. I came across this today. It came up as an ad, and I wanted to mention this. This was something that I didn't know was existing. You know how we were mentioning a while ago that the Zoom ZDM1 has is basically only available in a pack with headphones and whatever.
Yep.
I got an ad today for the Audio-Technica AT2005 USB-PK.
PK.
There is now a podcasting streaming pack that is being sold.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
What's included in it other than the microphone?
It is including a microphone, a arm, and headphones. It's one
desk-mounted arm.
Yes, it is. It looks like a branded version of like a Near, like, you know, this the standard generic cheapo. Like it looks like it's got the logo on it, but
Sure.
$189 listed Canadian. I'm not sure what the American price is. The Audio-Technica site is redirecting me to
And it's $189.
So,
oh yeah, I see the Canadian. Maybe it's only
there we go,
available.
$129 US. I switched to the US site.
Okay.
So I just came across this today, but everybody's getting into it. Hey, everyone's getting into it. To me, I think it's a little like, I get it because of the price where their mic is, but I think it's a little overpriced, at least Canadian.
Well, it is with the 40s.
It is the 40. No, it's the 20s.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've always thought the 20s were overpriced. Where did I see 40? I saw 40 somewhere. Oh, it was in the stuff down below it.
So I don't know. Yeah, I just came across this just before I had to run out this afternoon. I just happened to come across this. So I don't know. I guess it's
See,
good that there's packages, but I do think it might be a little bit overpriced for what they've included. But I guess the flip side of it is the headphones are branded. The mic is a tried and true microphone, and the arm is probably not great. But
yeah,
hey,
I remember when we first started Better Podcasting, there were still a lot of packs around of these things that were really not meant for podcasting. A lot of condenser microphones, a lot of really cheap headphones. And to be honest, not all of them, but a lot of the audio interfaces or the mixers were not ideal for podcasters. Either they were suspect in their reliability or they just didn't have the capability to do what you really needed to do for podcasting. At least now, this is 5 years later after we started Better Podcasting. At least now we're starting to get a lot of podcast specific stuff that is
yeah,
actually meant for podcasters. And this is a dynamic cardioid microphone. We both own one. I have one in my travel bag, and we would recommend it for anybody that's starting because it's both USB and XLR. The one thing, well, I mean, I guess if you're starting out, the those cheap arms, they were $15 US at one point in time. I don't know what they're
here's
going for
the
now.
thing that I just noticed. It looks remarkably like a cheap arm, but
Yeah.
it has the plastic piece, I believe, or it's a built-in cable because it does have wire management.
Oh
It actually
yeah,
specifically
built-in
calls it
cable.
out. So it's
Oh,
not your standard cheap one because those don't have any wire management. So I don't know. I'm not sure.
yeah. If it so the wire that they're showing is a USB cord.
Yes, it is a USB cord.
I
So
hope that's not integrated because if you use it
yeah,
via XLR, then that wreaks havoc on that mic arm.
it says yeah, internal cable management for clean desk appearance. So you're probably right. It probably is removable. It's probably like the one that we use, the Heil, where it's got a plastic piece.
I hope so, because
Yeah.
if it's not, that's just
I
wrong on
can't
so
tell
many
because the
levels.
pictures
Yeah,
are
I'm
not that
looking at it
great.
right now.
Um no, I don't know. You know what? It might not be. I'm zooming. I'm sorry. This is riveting audio. That's why we say it's live and unedited. Um
Yeah, I was looking at it and I couldn't tell,
no,
but
I can't tell.
it looked like no versus yes. Where
Yeah.
and what we're talking about is that there are two versions of quote unquote integrated cable management. One is that they actually give the cable to you and it's integrated into the metal pieces. There's no way to get it out unless you cut out the ends. And if it ever goes bad, you have to get another one anyway, and it won't be integrated because there's no way with the ends that you can thread it through there. The other version is what Stephen was referencing that we both use on our Heil PL2Ts is the top bar actually has a plastic channel covering that comes off so you can embed the cable along the way. And I've actually changed my cable twice since I got this. So it's very good if you're planning to podcast for a couple of years at least, because these XLR cables, they do go out eventually. And it's just good to be able to change out the cable and have the cable management still there. So for the video watcher of this, you've seen Steven actually deal with his and show everybody how we do our cable management there with the Heil one. And the Heil is not the only one that has cable management the way that we do it, but it's the one with that we use. So, and I'm comfortable recommending it. I know it's a
Yeah.
buttload of money, but I'm comfortable recommending this arm.
You know, it's a really good point though that you bring up if it is integrated with it being a USB cable. So I don't know. I wish we could see some better angles. We'll find out. I have no desire to buy this. I'd rather put that money towards testing that new Zoom pack myself. So I've already
Mhm.
got an AT 2005 and I've got Audio Technica headphones that I don't like that are better than those. So anywho, I just thought I'd mention it. I just happened to see it this afternoon.
Yeah, that's awesome. New. Well, it's not really new gear. It's just a new pack, I
Yeah.
guess. Okay.
but they do. I think they do call it the streaming. They do streaming/podcasting pack.
Well, so the AT 2005 has been going for $70 or $80 US for quite some time, even before COVID, about $80. So you got $80 for that. And you said this thing was 129 American. The headphones, even the 20s, they would go for $60, I'm thinking, 50, 60. We'll call it $50. So that's $130 right there. And then you add the 15. So really what you're doing is you're adding the boom arm, the cheap boom arm for $15.
Yay. All right, let's get to some listener feedback that we had. First off, in our chat, Johnny was suggesting that the domain name that I bought was No, I'm not going to say it. It probably exists. Sorry, Johnny. If you want to check out that, you can come to our live chat and check that out. Let's just say it involved elephants and droppings. Okay.
Elephant. Yeah. Okay.
But
I couldn't say it.
No.
I couldn't.
That's why I abandoned it too. Abort mission. We also had in our Discord server saying, it was yakko.org. Jeremy Dennis said, TFW, you're listening to the pre-recorded BP and SP references the new iPhone announcement that never actually happened. That was a couple weeks ago that he put that in our Discord, but I waited till you were back for us to discuss that. That was on our episode where we talked in our download about international gear release dates.
Yeah, you did talk about it with Chris on the show here 2 weeks ago, but yes, I did reference the new iPhone announcement. We were recording the BP early, but it was Friday before the Apple announcement. And to that time, I did not have any confirmation one way or the other that either the iPhone or the Apple TV, the new 6th generation Apple TV, was going to be on that. So the new iPhone 12, which will eventually come out, or the Apple TV 6th generation, both of which I'm looking forward to because I need replacements. And I referenced the announcement would be happening, I believe it was the next Tuesday, and I was really excited to listen to it. Consequently, I didn't catch it live, but my dad and I did actually sit down and watch it. We watched it because he was interested in the next generation of iPads and MacBooks. So we sat down and we watched it. He was very educated throughout the whole process, which I'm so glad it was actually one of the newer style of Apple announcements and not the drawn out 3-hour clap fest that they have in their Apple Hall, wherever that is. It was, it was produced stuff. It was more of an infomercial than a commercial, which I appreciated. We did enjoy also the new Apple Watch 6th generation, I believe, the new Apple Watch 6. We enjoyed that, especially with the blood ox in there. That's got both my dad and my attention for health reasons. So it was really cool to watch it. The one thing I was really disappointed of course, is that there was no iPhone announcement, and we had been talking about it on the Better Podcasting. So eventually the new announcement will come out, and I'm guessing that there will be some surprises at that announcement. So that's why I'm not really set on a specific phone right now, because I know it'll change when the announcement comes out.
But it doesn't matter which version it is. You'll still be able to get your podcast through it, and that's all that matters for the Better Podcasting audience. Just podcasts, and that's it. Who cares about any of the other features? Prioritize podcasts.
I was using my iPhone 8 Plus today to listen to podcasts using my new AirPod Pros while I was power washing my fence, and it went surprisingly smooth. I could hear them. I was also wearing ear protection over the AirPods because I was using a gas-powered power washer. Yeah. But the fact that I could fit the AirPods in my ears and the sound protection over my ears at the same time, that was really cool. And a couple of people called me during the whole thing, and they actually heard me. Once I lifted the cup up, they actually heard me through one of the microphones. So I was like, wow, this is actually pretty cool. So new technology is great. It's not just Apple. Stephen, you're a Google fanboy through and through right now, and I'm sure those would have done the same things. But that's what's more important is I was listening to podcasts the entire time.
All right, let's bounce back to the domain talk. We had Waffles in our Discord say .fm for podcasts is a bit funny. And here's the thing, I had a big conversation in there, but I wanted to mention it on this show here because I was of the exact same mindset, 100%. I was like, this is ridiculous that podcasts and non-FM radio stations, specifically non-FM radio stations, are using .fm because, full disclosure, I saw .fm being used for non-FM radio stations that I thought were ridiculous before I saw podcasts doing it. Like, there was several things that used to grind my gears about people using .fm. And then recently I was like, I should look this up. And then I saw that .fm was actually the country code domain because .fm was way before this big influx of what they call GLTDs. That's all those new extensions. The .fm is actually the country code domain for the Federated States of Micronesia. So that's the F and the M in there. So FM radio stations using .fm were repurposing it. So at that point, I'm like, yeah, this is no longer the hill that I could die on because what I had in my mind as what it should be used is not what it should be used for. So anyway, like, by definition, now there's tons of others that have, but yeah, I just thought that was kind of interesting to come across. I was happy though that other people also were irritated by it because it made my old thoughts. I still get irritated. Okay, I'll get back to that. But anyways, it made my old thoughts feel a little bit misery loves company, that sort of thing. And it's not misery. But the other thing though that I do want to say is, though, even though that's technically the case, podcasters and podcasts that are registering these and streaming services and whatever else is using this are not registering it because they saw it being used by the Federated States of Micronesia. No, they're using it because they saw FM radio stations using it and they're like, hey, that sounds cool. And so that's why I still kind of think that it's ridiculous that podcasts use it, because they're using it because they think it's cool because that's like an FM radio station. So Waffles, you and I will stick together on this, okay?
Yeah, for those of you that don't know where the Federated States of Micronesia are, think Fiji, think South Pacific or the Pacific Rim. That's where it's at. It's not a radio. By the way, .radio, if you're into that, .radio is an extension which you can buy, so you don't have to go with .fm. Although I think I would go with .fm knowing where the country is, because it's one of the sailing destinations that I see on the cruising sailing YouTube channels. I'm like, yeah, that's actually, there's 2 cruising destinations in the world that are like the primo with, I'll tip my hat off to a third. So one is the Caribbean, the Bahamas, Abacos, right around the southern part of the United States, in between the United States and South America, really. That's the primo one. There is nothing else that will top it in the world. Number 3, the third one that I just want to throw in there, is the Mediterranean. I mean, there's a lot of cruisers up there for various reasons because it's so close to Europe and you can hit a lot of different countries and you're not really going far and the storms don't get that bad. So that's what it is. The second one though is what I was saying, like Fiji, Micronesia, the Kingdom of Tonga, though that area, that is the number 2 area in the world.
I just saw something. Apparently in 2008, they started allowing emoji registrations on the .fm.
Really?
Apparently on the .fm. So anyways,
how do you do that?
Must be possible. I guess because it's technically a character. It's like how, non English keyboards can have domain names as well, right? In certain conditions. So I guess that's what it is. Ultimately, it's just a different keyboard, right? The emoji keyboard. That's my guess. Because technically emojis are standard. That's why sometimes you can see like an iPhone user put one in and it shows up differently, like if they're on a cross-platform thing with like an Android user. So,
right. But I mean, what would actually be registered? Would it be like the colon, whatever the emoji is called, and then another colon? Is that what you're registering?
Yeah. So like they I'm looking at the Wikipedia for emoji domains. For example, www, and I don't know what's on this, but www.winkyface.tld is apparently one. But oh no, that's probably just an example. But that would be the idea. It would be the emoji dot whatever. But I have no idea. I don't know how this works. I'm not that technical. But if you want to know more, you can go to the Wikipedia article and find out what all 14 domain extensions will take emojis, at least as of May 2019.
Huh.
The last thing I want to say actually on .fm is that the other reason I think is weird that podcasters use it is because .fm's really expensive compared to some of the more mainstream ones. So it's just
Gee, I
weird.
wonder why.
Yeah.
It would be like it's .ca. I wonder if the
.cas are cheap.
But it's exclusive to people that are in CA. So I wonder if the people in the Federated States of Micronesia are actually using this as a revenue generator.
Could be. All right, let's talk about the thing that you and I both want to talk lots about. And it might be the last thing we have time for. I don't know. This could take us a long time. We had multiple people in our Discord follow up to our conversation that we had on the last Better Podcasting about issues with the Rodecaster Pro. We had Josh Liston say, I'm going to pull what files I have on the SD card tonight and then do a factory reset and SD card wipe and reformat. I'd love to use the same card if I can, as I paid a small fortune for a super high quality card. So this was in follow up to a comment that he had made about issues with his recording.
Yeah, because he lost, I think he said about a minute or so. I'm trying to remember. I don't know specifically, but he did say he lost a part of the recording, or it just stopped recording.
Here, I found it. Sorry, I didn't put it in there. Sorry, everybody. Just had a project in my studio, and halfway through the recording, the Rodecaster Pro failed and stopped recording. Said your Rodecaster had experienced an issue and stopped recording. Been noticing some strange artifacting since updating to the latest firmware, and today is failed. Had a backup running, thankfully.
Well, for those that don't know, Josh is Australian. He actually adores his Rode gear. He's not exclusive to Rode, but he is very much a proponent of Rode. So this must have hurt quite a bit because he likes gear that works reliably. And he likes his Australian gear too. Just like Steven, you would like your Canadian gear if they ever made any.
But the thing is, like, you know, I don't want to misrepresent Josh, and I think that slightly does, because he does like it, but he has expressed his issues a lot with the Rodecaster Pro. He's had several problems with it, and he's called a spade a spade.
Yeah.
We also, though, had currency. My Rodecaster Pro did the same thing a couple weeks back. I don't know why. I did a factory reset and put a new SD card in. It hasn't happened again yet. So these are things that seem to be happening lately with this. And I guess, you know, when you are updating firmware, it definitely could happen. I do have suspicions that they're testing. Like they're putting out a lot of updates is the way I look at it. Is they're putting out a lot of updates, and that doesn't leave a ton of time for testing, right? So you could speculate based off of that. But the other thing too is it's a complicated beast, and we've talked about this. It's a complicated beast that does a lot of things, which is cool if it does them right. But once you start to have things that are software based that are doing a lot of things, it increases your odds of something going wrong. It's the way it's all technology, computers, phones, things like that. Until you figure out all these bugs, it happens. So I'm not surprised to see this, but am disappointed nonetheless.
I know there's a lot of people out there that are proponents of the Rodecaster and they think it's awesome for podcasting. And actually, coming from their point of view, I would agree with them. The Rodecaster Pro, there was really nothing like it other than the Zoom L12 that came before it, but they operate differently, right? So the Rodecaster Pro is an all-in-one solution. There's two things with the Rodecaster Pro, no matter what is happening with the software, that I still have issues with. And one is the limitation of the preamps, which wouldn't be bad if it wasn't for the second limitation, which is the fact that they don't have combo jacks or an ability to do a 1/4 inch input or insert which is usually what offboard gear uses. If you're talking about like our DBX 286Xs, they would come in through a 1/4 inch input versus the XLR input. One could argue, why would you need a DBX 286 if you have all the effects on board the Rodecaster? Well, there's other things out there that you might want to use. And because the preamps are suspect, maybe you need an additional preamp, like a cloud lifter sort of thing, to go into the Rodecaster to deal with a little bit better gain or cleaner gain before you get into the system. So the two things combined are a limitation to the Rodecaster. Now, for the vast majority of people that are using the Rodecaster as podcasters, and really not going to have that limitation because they're using microphones that could be powered easily by the Rodecaster. But there's some microphones out there that the Rodecaster is just not ideal for because of the limitations of the preamp, and then you need just a little bit more gain, and for that you would need a cloud lifter. So those are my standing issues with the Rodecaster and why I'm not going to go ahead and buy one until either Gen 2 comes out or something else comes out as well. The Zoom P8 had my attention. I think I mentioned it on the show last week, on the main Better Podcasting show last week. I've since it's settled into me that it has a limitation in the bit rate and the sample rate for the recording settings. And unless they can move away from that with a firmware update, then I just see that as a limitation to look somewhere else for my next step up in gear, because that would be a step down for me currently in where I'm able to record both bit rate and sample rate.
I think it's worth note. I think it's worth considering the limited. I think it's practically, for an average hobby podcaster, a non-issue at this time.
And yeah, you're
So.
you're absolutely right. Although I still would like to test one,
Yeah.
just to make sure. Yeah.
You know, the other thing, like with all of this new equipment coming out, like you're mentioning, like the P8 and P4, and what's the other one that just came out?
H8.
Yeah, and even the L8 to a degree, but not so much the H8, but I guess the H8 plays in a little bit. The Rodecaster Pro is big in comparison, like, and I'm sure it's probably to do with hardware partially, but like the buttons are too big. The fader should be more condensed. And we've seen that this is like the buttons can go a lot smaller and still be practically used. Is it as nice? No. But I think that it's nice, like the overall package would be more appealing, because that is the thing, is like I had it for a long time on my desk. I had to put papers on top of it. It was too big. It was too big because I was trying to run it, like, you know, do a little comparison between them, but it was just too big to leave in a void that I should have been able to leave it there next to my L12 or L8 or whatever I had at the time. So it's a little too big, I think, now that we're seeing what is possible with some of these other devices coming out. I would like to see I'd like to see it a bit smaller, and maybe that's why they've called it all this time the Rodecaster Pro rather than just the Rodecaster, because they knew that they would come out with a Rodecaster that's physically smaller. But I also think that, like, I think when we look at the size, I think that it needs more XLR inputs to be deserving of that physical form factor. I think
would you want a combo XLR jack, or would you want an XLR jack and a separate 1/4 inch jack on the same channel?
I think combo's fine. I think combo is acceptable. I think what they could do as like a separate jack would be where they've got the like the TRRS. They've got that there. I think there could be a possibility there for a bit of a split. So it could be like a combine where it's a TRRS or two 1/4 inches, so like an either or sort of thing, so you could kind of multi-use that. But I just think it's like, looking at it compared to what we've seen with all these other things that are coming out that do more multi-tracking and have some of the same ideas, like the sound pads and things. I just think it's physically big.
It's almost the same size as my 16-channel Mackie mixer. I mean, it's smaller than it, probably more. So I have a Mackie Pro FX 16 V2. It's probably the same size as a 12 V2, and it's only got 4 channels coming in. that you can plug into. I mean, I guess 5 or 6 with the TRS jack, but you're picking up what I'm putting down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is big. And the other thing is you can't, like you were saying, you were putting stuff on it. We both have audio racks on our desk. If you had something like that, and I know like Apollo makes something like that, you can make it into a rack mountable unit,
Yeah.
and then you could either stack it or put some stuff on top of it, or maybe, maybe some monitors on top of it or something like that. But for the mixer itself to be out in the open like that, it does take some desk space. And that is really what I'm looking forward to, is to reclaim some of my desk space with the
Yeah.
next generation of stuff. And right now I'm not going to be able to with the Rodecaster Pro. All reasons why I don't want to get it. That said, when we were recording Gonna Geek this week, I had a brief moment where I heard some crackle and I heard it in my ears.
Yeah.
So I know it wasn't just USB. And then you heard it and Chris heard it and you were both like, whoa. And I was, whoa. We all three said, whoa, at the same time. And that has me worried because it means that something eventually is going to go wrong in my system. So I'm going to have to buy a replacement at some point.
Maybe it's not, I don't know which you prefer, but maybe it's the DBX 286 and you got a backup right there.
I do.
And
I do
I
have
know
an
you
extra...
have another backup too, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't be, if it was the DBX, that would be the least of my worries right now. I wouldn't have to spend anything for that fix.
All right. And let's just quickly end on a fun note here.
Yeah, sure.
We had waffles today because I made a typo in our Discord. We always remind people when we're going to be recording, and I made a mistake. I had said that we would be recording at 5 p.m. Pacific / 8 p.m. Pacific instead of 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. So Waffles was very quick to point this out.
Something that I've noticed lately, and this has been a change in you in probably about the last 18 months, you used to be big on the East Coast time. You'd say everything in terms of the East Coast time, and that would be your preference. You've skipped over that. Now everything is in terms of Pacific Coast time for you, which is fine, by the way. I mean, that's the time zone that you live in. But even dealing with me, you used to be saying things in East Coast time, but now I've just learned that you've switched over to Pacific Coast time. So if you say 5 o'clock, I know not to rush home from work because it really means 8 o'clock my time.
Exactly. And one of the reasons why is because I've realized that there are other people in this world that live on the Pacific Coast that are in podcasting for such a long time. I was only dealing with people who were East or Central. I for a while was with someone who was in Central. But then there are some people who live on my side of the world and things like that. And
not only that, but you've got some Canadian listeners. You have You say that there's an SP fan club out there. There is a Steven Canadian fan club out there.
I also know for a fact that somebody that we've had that listens here is in Alberta, which is 1 hour difference than me. The other thing that's come to my mind, one of is not selfish, one of is selfish. The first is that he's looking like we have a whole bunch of time change stuff coming, getting flipped on its head.
I don't know when that is.
I know there's a whole bunch of us Western provinces and states looking to band together and abolish daylight saving while others are going to keep it. But lastly, I realized, why am I translating for you guys? You guys talk to me in Eastern, I'll talk to you in Pacific right back. And it's me, I'll talk in mine, you talk in yours, and if it falls apart, it falls apart. Or we'll end up with what Waffles pointed out, which is what I truly, truly wanted to point out, was he said, better podcasting, late night edition. So maybe in the future, better podcasting, late night edition will be a thing at 8 p.m. Pacific, 9, 10, 11 p.m. Eastern.
I'll have to get a lot more money for coming in than I do now, because that would eat into my sleep time, which would decrease my work efficiency, and therefore my pay will go down. So yes, I would need a little bit of compensation in order to do that. But that all said, the fact that Steve and I are communicating in Eastern or Pacific, it's very important if you have guests that you communicate in one singular time zone. So there's many examples of scheduling apps out there that will schedule in terms of the local time for whatever individual is using it. If you are doing that, if you have a lot of guests on your podcast, I would highly recommend that you talk in terms of either universal time zone or local time zones for everybody through an app. So that way there is no miscommunication and you don't miss out on a guest because of a time slot issue.
I totally agree. All kidding aside, this is something that I deal with daily in my day job. So it's amazing how many people can't figure out the difference between one province. So I totally agree.
Alaron in the chat, by the way, he said he is going to legally change his name. He shall now be known as Other Waffles.
All right. Well, if you want to join Waffles and other Waffles in our Discord, we'd love to have you over there. You can check out betterpodcasting.com/Discord. And hey, maybe we'll get a pancakes as well.
I want waffles.
So, whoops. For the audio listener, I pressed the wrong button and I'm not editing that out. For episode number 18 of Better Podcasting Live Chat, I'm Stephen John Drew saying SP is back. All is well again.
And I'm SP saying thank you to Chris once again for sitting in for me last week. And I look forward to seeing everybody else in 2 weeks on this show. Bye.
Bye, Waffles. Bye, other Waffles.
Thanks for checking out another episode of Better Podcasting. You can find the full back catalog of Better Podcasting at betterpodcasting.com. If you're into geeky podcasts, please check out the other podcasts on the Gonna Geek Network at GonnaGeekNetwork.com. This show was produced and edited by Stephen John Drew of Gonna Geek Productions. Voice work was done by L.W. Salinas. Thanks again for listening or watching, and we hope to see you again next week.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for coming on by. It was a lot of fun.
It was. And Other Waffles, it was great to see you in the chat. It was actually your podcast I was listening to for the bulk of the time that I was doing the power washing, smoking and drinking in space, that podcast.
Trying to find something here. Just give me a moment here. Might not be able to. I want to test
Johnny. This will probably be the last time we get to talk to Johnny before this weekend. Johnny, I just want to say you need to be careful because once again, you have another hurricane headed towards you.
Oh, no.
Now, it looks like it's going to go towards the east, and it looks like it's going to downgrade from 4 to 2 by the time it hits around New Orleans. But just want to tell you that I was aware that it was heading towards you, and I wish you and your family good luck this weekend.
Sorry to hear about that, Johnny. I didn't know that.
And there's another one behind it too. This is just we're already on. They're calling it hurricane or tropical storm right now, I guess, but Hurricane Delta. They've gone through the alphabet. They're using a new alphabet. This is like the first time in my adult life that there's been that many storms, and a lot of them have hit right around where Johnny lives. So, yeah, I guess Other Waffles is in that area too. I mean, he's not in Houston anymore, but he's in that area. So, and yes, Other Waffles, yes, your podcast. Yeah, I had several times while I was listening to your show that neighbors were looking at me funny because while I'm power washing, I'm laughing my ass off. Oh, he's still in Houston, so you're going to get it too.
Oh. No, I can't test what I was going to test. It's all good though. Thanks everybody for coming on by, and we hope to see you this Thursday for the next Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. podcast at
9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific at geeks.live.
7 Central.
No, 8 Central.
8 Central. You said 9. That's right. Sorry. Yeah, my bad. 8 Central. See, basic math. Can't do it. There's your example.
Yeah, Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. We're moving on into, so we've completed the watch of Luke Cage, which was phenomenal. Season 2 of Luke Cage was great. My favorite season 2 episodes of Luke Cage were 9 and 10, by the way. So if you're ever watching the series.
How many are there?
13.
Okay, 13.
But we're moving on. We've already covered Iron Fist. So that would have been the next one in chronological order, but we covered it already.
You
So
covered
we're
season
moving.
2?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry for you.
I'm a completionist. It was my fault. Everybody was wanted to blame somebody, and then I just let it out on the podcast one day. I can't believe we're actually watching it, and the ladies about jumped my crap because they're like, "You're the one that wanted to do this." Like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
There were moments that it was headed good. I think it started. I think it. No, it didn't start out better. No, they ruined everybody.
So we'll be covering Daredevil season 3, and
Oh, that
I've
was
been
good
looking.
season. That was good.
I've been looking forward to this. I know nothing about it, so I'm looking forward to watching that. And then following that is Punisher, and then following that is Jessica Jones, and that is it for the Defenders universe.
I have not seen Punisher season 2 or Jessica Jones last season either. I should watch that soon. I haven't done
Why
many.
don't you watch it with us? You could come podcast with us.
Because you guys won't have it done by the end of the year, and I got to get my streaming list filled out because I haven't done many yet.
Oh crap! I forgot we were going to do that.
I got to watch some more streaming ones. I was supposed to make.
I've been
active
watching.
effort.
I've been watching always Away. I've been watching Away on Netflix. Is it Netflix?
I think I'm gonna start Jessica Jones tonight.
Okay.
Or do I want
You're
to?
going to
Do I
do
want
it
to end
before
with
Punisher?
Punisher or Jessica Jones?
Well, Jessica Jones is the last one, but I don't think they knew it was going to be the last one when they were filming it. So I think it's just kind of one of those fade to black sort of thing. Just
Maybe I'll
like
do Punisher first.
the end of Luke Cage, it's obvious that they
Yes.
thought they were going to get a season 3. Now there was no huge cliffhanger. There was
No.
a couple of things that you wish were tied up a little bit better. I think the biggest one was Claire and her leaving the entire universe.
Yeah.
Uh, which isn't a bad thing, but the way she left it would just had a sour taste in my mouth. And I know that the showrunner of Luke Cage probably didn't have a say in it, but he would have preferred to keep her around.
Johnny sings Suits.
Yeah, my son loved Suits. I did not watch it, but yeah, it's another one out there.
Someone told me Umbrella Academy. I have no idea what that's about.
A lot of people like that. I think Jason Aluron or Other Waffles in the chat. I think he's watched the Umbrella Academy. Have you watched Man in the High Castle?
No, I haven't. I'll write that down. I got a bit of a
gotta.
list going because I knew that like I started making a list a little while ago just when these conversations came up. Because I know that like through the summer I never watched a ton of stuff anyways, other than just like, comfort TV that you watched before. But now that we're getting to the end of summer, I know I'm going to be missing watching new to me things. So I've been kind of creating a list. And sorry, what did John say? Johnny said Suits, right? I'm Man in High Castle.
I think it was like on USA, so take it for what it is. Suits is not the level of other stuff that we're talking about.
You know what though? There's this one a good buddy of mine at work told me about that I think is going to bump Punisher, and I hadn't heard of it before, but I'm really looking out because he talked really highly about it. We had a good conversation about it the other day. Hold on. The Expanse. Have you heard of that?
I want to give you the finger right now, but I'm going to keep our family friendly motif going right now.
No, seriously. It's on my list. So
Have
I
you
might
not seen any of it?
Not one episode, and also Westworld. I think both of those might bump Jessica Jones and Punisher actually.
In all honesty, I still have yet to watch the final season that's available right now on The Expanse and Westworld, but both are phenomenal, and I definitely want to watch those. I've been watching Nova episodes actually that I've recorded off of PBS and getting my science fix in that way. I still have Cosmos to watch, the third modern season anyway of Cosmos. I still have that to watch. So yeah, there's a lot for me to watch, and the way I have to consume it, it's not like you can binge Cosmos. I mean, you can, but it's really meant to be like a one a night or a one a week sort of thing. The Boys and Other Waffles in chat is saying The Boys.
I've got that on my list too, actually. So
I've not seen it. I heard the first season wasn't for me, but now that there's 2 seasons out, maybe. And of course, Mandalorian Season 2's coming
Oh,
out.
that's true. Yep. That'll be pretty quick here.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks everybody. And if you want to talk actually TV and otherwise, come to our Discord because we do have a channel in there about TV and film talk. But you must say film, TV and film talk.
And I'm back into gaming now. I'm playing Squadrons on Xbox.
Are you? Is it expensive?
Did you not know that? I said it last night.
Oh, you did say it. That's right. I didn't know it was Xbox, so I thought.
Oh
for some reason it
yeah,
was PlayStation.
Other Waffles Archer. Yeah, Archer is back in full form right now. It's fun.
How much
It's one
is
of the
Squadrons?
Squadrons just came out on Friday, I think. It's only $40. It's
I
not
might
like
have to
here.
do it since I know someone playing it.
Oh sure.
What's it like?
It's just it's a flight game. So you're flying various Rebel and Empire ships around.
Cool. I might check it out. We'll see though, because one of my controllers the other day was near water, and I don't know I don't know if it was the already not great controller, because otherwise I'll have to buy a new controller.
I was gonna say, you can buy a new controller, right?
I know. I wouldn't be buying a controller. Lessons must be taught.
Well, you could buy a special daddy controller.
If I ever got back into gaming, that was the intention. Actually, was like if I got into gaming, that was always going to be the intention. That, like, because my wife and I always, whenever we get a console, we have great ambitions. We always get a game out, start playing it together, and then it's like it turns into like we don't play. And then we got this one now that we had kids, and then we'll play occasionally with the kids, but like we just neither of us are really sit down and play games. But if it was, that was always my intention, was the kids can have the generic white controllers and mommy and daddy are going to get good controllers.
So you can only play one person on your local machine, but you can, if you have multiple ways, which you can do through, it's what do you call it when you can go through multi-platform?
Yeah.
So you could go through it through your computer or whatever.
Cool.
And so that's the way to do it. But I would love to fly with you and your brother. I think that would be awesome because you can do it in teams of 5.
Cool. All right.
I would love to be that fifth wheel in the the Steven and brother.
Yeah, I haven't even done voice at all on the modern platform. So
I got a new I had trouble with that phenomenal ear what do you call it? Headset.
Yeah.
So I had trouble with that. So I'm like, I'm never doing that again. So I bought the same company, but a version that you actually plug in. The headphones are nowhere near as awesome as the other ones.
That's too bad.
But I don't ever have to worry about it charging or the batteries running out or anything. I'm just plugging it into the controller and that's it. And I also bought one for my PlayStation downstairs too.
Cool. All right. Well, have a good night, everybody.
Yep.